Hi, I'm Dave Herring from Alpine Access Australia, where we teach avalanche courses in Australia, and I'm an ambassador for Arc'teryx and Salomon as well. Very fortunate for that. And the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be interviewing a few colleagues, friends, people from the industry and the mountains who have a story to tell. And my first friend today is good friend Cam Walker. Cam is the coordinator with Friends of the Earth in Australia. Has had a lifelong career as an environmentalist and a super keen backcountry, summer and winter backcountry guy. And so I'll get Cam just to introduce yourself with a short, 1 minute life story for us. That'd be great.
Hi, Dave. Good to see you. Yeah, I guess the 1 minute life story would be, for some reason, I don't quite know why, I fell in love with the Rocky Mountains when I was about 13. I had no idea where they were or how I was going to get to them. And then I fell in love with Alaska. And so when I was 18, I went to those places, and yeah, the love was as good as I thought it might be. And here we are a few years later, and I'm equally obsessed with beautiful mountains.
Right. So where did you actually start your backcountry career as such?
So probably at about 14, starting to do overnight hikes. I went to Wilson's Prom, which is the classic Victorian walk, nice 4-day walk. At high school, a bunch of mates, we all got into cross-country skiing, so we learned to ski up at Baw Baw. We had a really fantastic teacher who we started what we called a walking club, but basically he drove us away for weekends and we all went skiing together.
Yeah.
Long distance walking, did probably my first 10-day walk when I was 15, 16.
Wow.
We went out into Mount Howard. That winter we made our own snowshoes, and we did the same trip, a 10-day trip.
Tennis rackets?
Sorry?
Tennis rackets?
Pretty much. It was, we had a pipe bender, and we had a scout leader at that point who was an industrial fitter and turner, and he used pipe benders and conveyor belt webbing, and we made pretty awesome snowshoes even with crampons.
Yeah.
Did a 10-day trip, and then about that time also got into rock climbing, and then that led into mountaineering. So I did my first season in New Zealand when I was 18.
Wow, that is quite a time. I'm not suggesting you're not guessing at how old you are at the moment. So you've always been a skier?
Yeah.
Snowboarding?
I did.
No, never.
Sorry?
Ever tried snowboarding?
No, I haven't.
No.
I was much more a climber, and then I was, a mountaineer, and then I got to that point, mid-20s, where if you're going to do that, you had to do that, It was, big commitment and ever bigger mountains, and a couple of mates were killed, and it, got me thinking. And so I guess at that point I went back less into big mountains and climbing and more into our mountains and skiing.
Yeah, cool. And what's your favourite zone now? What's Victoria?
Yeah. I try and stick close to home, I try not to travel too much, but Victoria's got a lot going for it. I love the Hotham, Feathertop, Bogong High Plains area.
Yeah.
That's fantastic country.
And you got a favourite hut out there?
I liked Derrick Hut for the, just the taking the beginners for the first time.
Sure.
And camp out there. But McAllister Springs, Valley Gantner, be my favourite. Hard to get to, beautiful location, amazing skiing.
Yeah. So, we're still frothing at our age, Cam. What is it about the mountains that remain so alluring? Especially in winter, I guess.
Especially in winter, yeah. Well, snow is right for me. Mountains is right for me. I feel my best up there. I feel my most energetic. I feel inspired. My brain is working. I like the cold. I love the alpine. I love the rocks and the ice. I just love it.
Yeah, same. It just keeps your body so trim and, makes me feel a lot younger than I am. So tell me about your trips to Colorado. I know there's some good stories you've told me in the past. Tell me how you got there and what you've done there.
Yeah, so I went there a couple of times climbing, way back when. And then about 6 years ago, I realized I've never actually traveled overseas to go skiing, and everyone in the universe that I knew had. And I thought I'd better do it, while the knees are still going. Um, so yeah, I've spent about 3 and a bit months there, done 3 trips. And it's interesting terrain. They have probably 30 backcountry huts that you can book, so you can ski forever if you
Yeah.
want to. There's a couple of through routes you can do, and you get out into incredible terrain and normally have it to yourself, which for a place like Colorado, which as we know is pretty busy,
Yeah.
is pretty special. And it's just such great terrain. It's endless ski touring terrain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So did you got any Abbey stories or hazard stories from over there?
Yeah, I actually do. I did manage to trigger a small slide on one trip, which was pretty scary, and then we needed to get out of that, and that was classic survival skiing to clear a zone, and that
Mm.
was probably a 6-hour ski from a road. Small group of us. That was a little bit, oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, this is pretty real.
yeah, yeah.
I also did a solo trip at the end of my first trip. I did a really nice 6-day trip into a place called Harrygates Hut, which is kind of, if you can imagine, northeast of Aspen, up in the mountains in
Yeah.
there. And yeah,
The
actually
Maroon
got
Bells, is that the Bells?
it's to the east of there.
Yeah,
So yeah, the road into Aspen, the Maroon Bells are on the west side,
yeah,
and it's the Watch Range, I guess it is, on the east side. So in there, but yeah, ended up on a very big slope that I thought was pretty mellow and pretty relaxed, and it started to move around me, which was focused my attention in terms of getting out of it.
Yeah, so you've done a bit of training since then, I know.
Yep, indeed.
So you did tell me a story once about getting lost with your daughter too. Can you share that one?
We've actually had a few of them, but yeah. So the second trip to Colorado, oh no, sorry, the third trip, I took my daughter, and we went into a hut. This, I don't know if this is the story I've told you before. This is one that jumps out at me, but we went into a hut called Uncle Bud's, which is a really beautiful hut out of Leadville. It's probably about an 8K ski, but a big climb in. And the previous week, there had been two very young guys, and one was a patroller who'd been lost coming out of there in a storm and had actually died overnight in the woods because they got separated. They got in the dark. They couldn't find the trail. And we went in, and it was very deep snow. And it just took a heck of a lot more time than I had anticipated. And then we ended up getting into dark, getting into woods, getting into terrain that it wasn't dangerous. It was just already about minus 16 degrees, and I wasn't quite sure where the hut was, and I did have an anxious little time there for a while.
And oh shit, I'm out of my depth moment.
Indeed. Yeah.
So what's left on your bucket list then, Cam? What haven't you done that you'd like to do in the backcountry? You crawl all over Victoria. I know. I watch you.
Yeah.
I know what you get up to.
Do at home.
What's the main range?
Yes, I want to get back to Jagungal. I haven't been in there for years. I like that northern, snowies. Sure. I am keen to get back to the main range. It's been a couple of years. I'm keen to do the Duquesne Traverse in Tassie again, which you only do when the snow is deep and perfect.
Yep.
And that's that kind of classic, alpine traverse in the southern end of Cradle Mountain Park.
Yep.
But the big tick list, I reckon, is I once skied from Aspen to Vail over 6 days, which was kind of like an endurance ski, an organised ski. Yep. I want to do Crested Butte to Aspen to Leadville to Vail. That's kind of, that's the, if I can get the right crew, if I can get fit enough, can find the window.
Big.
Yeah, that
is big. Yeah. Well, there's lots of 14,000 footers around there, and that is big. So good luck with that one.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask a little bit about your career as an environmentalist and with FOE. Where did that come from, and who are your mentors there? Where did that come out?
Good question.
Evolve.
So bushwalking led to being in lots of bush that was logged. That lent to, you know, thinking about that and why were we doing that, and giving my age away here. So 83, the year I went to Alaska for the first time, I went to Tassie and joined the Franklin blockade.
Yeah.
And, you know, got arrested and spent 10 days in jail, and that kind of ruined me for life in terms of being an activist.
Nice.
And then I couldn't go back to uni, and I went and worked in a ski store, got some money, went to Alaska, came back, went to forest blockades, and basically, you know, that was it. That's what I did for the 10 years.
Wow. And now I know you've sort of given up a lot of the international and national side of FO, and you're concentrating on your local communities. How's that going?
Yeah, that's good. I spent about 6 years on the campaign to win fracking a fracking ban in Victoria, and we won that through working with farming communities and regional communities, and I love that work. You know, we're working to get renewables built and fossil fuels stopped, so it feels real. You're with real people in real communities, and they're concerned about their patch, you know, their backyard. Not that sort of work where people have connection to what they're fighting for.
Yeah. And how do you deal with the, you know, the trolls and the knockers? And I actually, you know, I follow a lot of stuff you do. And for the first time, I saw something a bit negative online the other day, and I thought typically you handled it brilliantly. But how do you? I find that really hard to cope with personally. But I guess you just, you know, experience.
Yeah, I try not to meet like with like. So if people are being angry or negative, I try and come back to them with, you know, friendship at least a couple of times.
Yeah. Nice.
You know, you get a thick skin, really. Working for an environment group, there's always people that hate you, and often it feels that hate is quite unreasonable, and often their hate is misdirected.
Yeah.
And often, as we know on social media, people will see something and react, and they're not actually reacting about you, they're reacting about something that triggers them. So it's a drag to be the butt of those people that are triggered by something. But, you know, what can you do? Better to give back a bit of friendship rather than a bit of snark.
Yeah, nice. And it seems like you've started the Mountain Journal Facebook page, and is that a thread for you to share your environmental experience and you know, things that are going on?
Yeah,
in the mountain community.
Yeah, exactly. So Mountain Journal started just as I love this, like in the States, in the Rockies, there's this real sense of culture in the mountains. You know, people love their mountain. And I was looking for that here, and it's here in many manifestations. I just wanted to add my little spin on it, which was that kind of, you know, presenting where we are. You know, it is unique. It is amazing. It's beautiful, these mountains. And the way that people live here is great. And we all have our connections and our stories. So that was Mountain Journal. And then bit by bit over time, it was kind of culture, but not flash culture. You know, it was, I won't say dirt culture, but kind of just, you know, people that are living the dream as they see it. And the issues that might matter to them, and that includes the environment. So, yeah, sadly, some days it feels like it's 90% environmental content, and that's just a reflection of what's going on.
Oh, look, it definitely has its place in amongst all the social media, Cam. It's a fine thing you do, and for a busy man, you put a lot. I'm sure you put a lot of time into it. I know how much how involved you are. So I know you're also on the committee for the Mountain Sports Collective, and that's a very interesting, you know, another volunteer organisation for you to, you know, spend some time on. Can you tell us a quick bit about that for those that don't know a lot about it? Maybe its mission statement, where you see it heading, and what its goals and objectives are?
Yeah, so it was set up to become a voice for the backcountry community, and we never really drew a fence around that. You know, we were very much of the opinion that if you considered yourself part of that community, there was space for you. But in the you know, the day-to-day running and the issues we've worked on, it tends to be winter backcountry human-powered sports. So speedboarding, alpine touring, you know, telly, that sort of thing. Big focus has been to keep people safe. So obviously the avalanche advisories or the condition reports, the various, you know, manifestations we've done of that over the years, the Slay Academy. So, you know, bringing people up in terms of their skill base and then finding people doing events. So, you know, MSC backs the Backcountry Festival, for instance. So just seeking to be, you know, a voice for the community. There's lots of probably lobbying stuff we could do. We've been very active in the space around this winter.
Absolutely.
The COVID crisis, will there be, you know, the backcountry be open? And we see a role for ourselves in that, in terms of talking to land managers about how we do it and how we keep it safe for people. So yeah, to a degree, it depends. It varies over time. We have a really great crew of people that are on the board at present, and that means we're going a little bit deeper than perhaps we used to. And the other thing I love is we do the maps. You know, we provide information for people that want to get out there.
Yeah. That's been a little controversial, but the reality is that all those maps are available anyway now, and with the number of people going out there, I support that. So they've been doing really good work, and I can see it evolving really well this year, really well. So I won't keep you much, but the Backcountry Festival in Victoria in a COVID year, you know, it's been a massive success. The last year was just fantastic. What's the plan this year, and how are you dealing with the COVID situation?
Well, we're kind of doing full steam ahead planning, and we've got our fingers crossed. It's a festival that could be done if the resort isn't open. Obviously, if there's social distancing, that might influence how we do it. But, you know, fingers crossed with the larger numbers of gatherings, it will happen. It'll in a form that's recognisable compared to the last 2 years. So strong focus on tours, workshops, speakers program, and social events. And the bar will happen again this year, the outdoor bar. So kind of similar.
I had a little bit to do with that last year. And accommodation is going to be a big issue for us in the mountains this year, for all of us that run businesses there. And if it's limited to day travel, it's going to change everything a lot. So good luck with that. Have you got a plan B?
We, at this point, are not. We're working on the plan A, but we're amending it. So, for instance, we're going to have a skiing camp and a car-based camp for people that want to step up into snow camping, but also that allows possibly more numbers if there's limitations on accommodation. So we're working on that kind of scenario at present. When the announcement is made on season and there is no accommodation, we'll come up with a plan C.
Yeah, I reckon you'll still get a whole lot of people, even if they're camping. They'll just come and do it for a couple of nights, and you know, we all love that. So we all grew up doing that. So good luck with it. So just a couple of generic questions I'm going to ask everybody as we sort of finish up. Your favourite ski film?
Valhalla. I love Valhalla.
Classic.
Grass.
Yeah, that's
and I love Jeremy Jones, you know, Ode to Muir and Roadless. I like his kind of human-powered backcountry ones.
I thought you might say, you know, Blizzard of Ours or something, if you remember that from the early 80s with Glenn Blake. And what are you watching on TV at the moment? Have you got or on Netflix? How you been dealing with COVID?
I actually don't really get into streaming. I think that's why I spend all my time writing stuff and organising stuff. I tend not to sit too much.
Yeah.
No faves.
I was going to ask you, you obviously, I'm assuming you saw Four Corners on Monday night and the demise of the ETS. How depressing was that? It was
depressing. It's stuff we know, but, you know, it's always depressing.
It's all been out there, but to watch those guys talk about it, and I found that really horrifying. So if you were to have a different job, Cam, what do you think it would be?
So the last few years I've become a volunteer firefighter, which I really love, and, you know, that was about connection to mountains. I'd actually like to be a remote area firefighter for Fire Management Vic, I reckon. I don't know what I do in the rest of the year, but like to do that for a while. I give it, give it my best. Volunteerism, you give it what you can, but doing it professionally, I'd like to do that and look after the mountains in another way.
So, just before we press the record button, you told me what happened last night. Why don't you share that?
Yeah, we had, I'm a bit leery this morning. We had a lightning storm like crazy, which meant the dog was up, which meant I was up. And then we had a 3 a.m. fire call, which ended up being a false alarm, but it was in a big kind of old industrial zone that has a whole lot of businesses. So we had to spend a lot of time getting in to make sure it was all okay. So yeah, in need of coffee this morning.
Yeah. So just to finish up, what's your number one tip for people going out into the backcountry, whether they're novice or experienced, or with all the things that you've done, what's the thing that really makes you stand up and stand to attention, and what is it that you're going to share with us?
Well, the first thing is you got to get out there, of course. Don't just think about it. You got to do it. It's worth investing the money on the gear. I think that's really important. You never go out unless you got the right gear. You should be cautious. I know that we all love to go and charge, but the fact is, the snow will be there tomorrow. So be cautious in your decision making. And I think the important thing is know when to call it and go home. There's been many times in my life where later on I've regretted it a bit because I turned around a little bit early. But, I know it was the right call because here I am and I didn't get stuck in that blizzard. So, yep.
Totally.
Go for it, get the right gear, be cautious, but also, don't let the ego get in the way, know when to bail.
Yeah, totally. Great advice, Cam. Well, listen, thanks. You're a legend. And thanks for having a chat today, Cam. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks, Dave.
Okay. Cheers.
See ya.